Welcome back. Ohio State right now is dominating Western Kentucky, as they should be. Michigan State is down big to Washington. Alabama looks like absolute gutter trash, and they're facing off against South Florida, winning only 10-3 in the fourth quarter. I don't know what to say about today's set of college football. I don't. I mean, I really look at the games that have been going on today, and it's just stunning. It is absolutely stunning. You know, Ohio State, for all the, gripes that the fan base may have about the slow start, the third down defense not being perfect, a growing level of panic in facing Notre Dame, I have to say that being up 63-10 today, along with Washington, so far you're one of the more impressive teams of today. Absolutely. Hummus Hero, how can Bama be this bad? I have no freaking clue. Alabama would lose to Ohio State, Michigan, and Georgia by like 28 points. I was going to say 40, but that would truly be hyperbole. Alabama's horrible by their own standard. In the national standard of things, Alabama is probably good, above average. They're definitely not top 10, but I don't think they're outside of the top 25. I just think the rain delay had them, that combined with benching Milroe, I think they're just broken. I don't know why Milroe was benched, but Ty Simpson isn't very good. Tyler Buckner is horrible. Absolutely terrible. If Sam Hartman didn't transfer into Notre Dame and Buckner was still there, Notre Dame might have lost to Central Michigan today, or that game would have went into overtime. Just really, for Ohio State, they look good overall, and that's why I wanted to come live. I have to watch the Michigan game, of course, so I won't be, on here forever. Maybe I'll do a watch party on my main YouTube page in the future. Who knows? But overall, it's incredible. Like, today's slate of games, this is insane. Washington right now, I overvalued Michigan State, obviously, but I think Washington's a top 4 team. What they're doing is absolutely impressive, for sure. Just wow. I'm stunned. It's crazy. This is chaos, though. UNC continues to prove me wrong. They beat Minnesota. The Big Ten so far is looking rather disappointing. Western Kentucky scored 48 on USF. The Bama offense is just bad. He said 41. That's Hummus Hero in the chat. And also, amazing 768 LOL, do a watch party. I'll consider it, for sure. I might actually... I probably wouldn't do one this week, but I'd try and restructure my room so that I could do one in the future. That probably would be easier and better and more entertaining than, doing these different lives. But Washington looks good. They really look good. I'm speechless, honestly, for today. I've been tired, and I've been working hard, but overall, I mean, I didn't expect any of this. I didn't expect Alabama to be this bad against South Florida. Minnesota, at times, looked physically dominant, but all in all, Gophers weren't the better team. Drake May, I don't think he's as good as he is last year, but the run game, the defense, the offensive line, UNC they have a good team put together. Ohio State's finally come alive. Granted, it took them a while, but I think they're finally finding rhythm. And my question for anyone who's in this chat right now would be, do you think they beat Notre Dame? What do you think about Ohio State? Did they beat Notre Dame? Did you see the Georgia game at all? Oh, yes, I did. Georgia looks like Michigan from last year with how they come alive in the second half. or the second quarter, whichever, except they don't have an offense relative to their previous 2 seasons where they had a top 10 offense every year. Clearly, Todd Monken has missed. The play calls are suspect. Carson Beck is not as good as Stetson Bennett, period, amen. The defense is still great, though. And South Carolina, even though they switched to the quick little RPO scheme, sort of similar to what Sean Lewis runs at Colorado, they're getting the ball out very quickly. It wasn't enough because South Carolina's a bad football team. They're not good. They don't have a good O-line. Spencer Rattler, he looked good today, but I'm not going to say he was good. Did he win a game that was winnable in retrospect, where South Carolina was up by 11 points at the half? Did Spencer Rattler win? The answer is no. He didn't. He didn't win whatsoever. Brownie Talk Sports. Minnesota's probably going to go 9-4 again. South Carolina's a good team. I don't know why Georgia was such a heavy favorite. Contrary to your belief, Brownie Talk Sports, pardon me if I'm a little off. I am tired. Hopefully I'm well soon. But I don't think South Carolina's that good. I don't think the SEC is that good. After today, I think that I would safely rank LSU ahead of Alabama. I think that LSU, if they continue to play hot, LSU could win out, and they could blow out everyone until they face Georgia. I mean, they look like they flipped a switch. But to talk about Ohio State, because that's, why I came live, I think this is an early reaction. I have not watched Notre Dame's game, but when you give up 17 points to a team that doesn't have a quarterback, that doesn't have an O-line, and doesn't have a defense, that's not a good sign. And those points weren't in garbage time. They were all in the third quarter and beforehand. I think Ohio State's beating Notre Dame. I think they're beating Notre Dame. And Ohio State just scored another touchdown, so it's going to be 70-10. Walloo. They finally overperformed. They finally did it. That's why I picked Ohio State to cover, and that's why I picked Michigan to cover. I think Michigan's going to cover tonight. I've been horrible with spread picks, but at some point Ohio State and Michigan are too good against these teams to constantly play it close. So, that's awesome. Marvin Harrison Jr. looked good. Emeka Egbuka looked good. Kyle McCord, he's really maturing. The run game is coming together. Chip Trayanum had a nice long run. Ohio State's rushing for over 200 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry. It's crazy. The game isn't over yet, of course. But nonetheless, I look at what Ohio State's doing, and I was mainly paying attention to Minnesota, North Carolina, and Michigan State, Washington. So I have to watch more of Ohio State, and I'll have a whole reaction video for Ohio State's win over Western Kentucky either tomorrow or Monday. So hit the notification bell so you can get notified when that video drops. But this video is me reacting to Ohio State and also a hybrid of all of the Big Ten's Week 3 performances so far. And also talking about Alabama because that's just shocking. It's still 10-3. USF is driving. They could bring this game to overtime. That's ridiculous. That is absurd. Alabama has no business only being up by 7. And there will still, as Uncle Lou famously says, there will still be people who say, oh, because they played close with USF, they're going to build and be stronger and more, intimidating. Like the running joke is that Alabama, the more they lose, the scarier they get. This team is pathetic. They're absolutely pathetic. I don't know what's going on with Alabama, but it is what it is. For Ohio State, they're looking great. They're obviously, I think, preparing for Notre Dame. I think that this game was not a look-ahead spot, but definitely not the focus of this week even, because Western Kentucky is an inferior opponent. They don't have the offense or the defense or the special teams or the coaching to hang with Ohio State. They don't. Plain and simple. And Ohio State's a good football team. They're one of the best teams in the country right now. Let me read the chat and then I'll get back to it. I gotta update my live because I have some advanced features that I haven't, implemented yet. Whoa, Iowa scored 40 points. Grilke 15. Yeah, they did. It's crazy. They actually covered. They proved me wrong. I thought Iowa wouldn't cover, but they did. At one point, Western Michigan was leading them. Today has been crazy. I mean, Washington looks elite. Ohio State looks elite. Georgia looks very questionable. Michigan in their first 2 games has looked like the most efficient team in college football. I don't think that's going to stop. Look, I mean, for Ohio State, it's the perfect time to peak. It's the perfect time to be better, to play your best ball, because Notre Dame, even though they can't fill their stadium with their own fans, and even though Ryan Day's a better head coach than Marcus Freeman, and even though Ohio State has more talent, Notre Dame does have the more experienced quarterback. Notre Dame has the better offensive line and the better run game as of now, and these are things that Ohio State's defense has struggled to stop. And Notre Dame, whether we like them or not, they have an offense. I don't think Gerard Parker is a world beater at OC. I don't think he's that good. And I don't think Sam Hartman is a good enough quarterback to have a 200 passer rating for all season long and be a Heisman winner. I don't. But clearly Notre Dame is doing something that I didn't anticipate them to do in the preseason. They're able to throw the ball. They can utilize their wide receivers. They're not just a tight end heavy offense that only uses tight ends and runs the football. They actually have talented wide receivers who can get open, beat the safeties, go one-on-one. It's crazy. Like, now is the time. And Ohio State came out. They had a good game. They won 63-10, a 53-point win. It's good. It's great. Also, Tennessee scored early on Florida. I'm glad I didn't pick Florida to win. I'm not saying that because Tennessee scored quickly. It's not an overreaction. I just don't think Florida with Graham Mertz is that good. Pac-12 looks good. And then for Ohio State, I'd favor them over Notre Dame right now. I'm not going to say that I'd pick them to win big or be incredible. But I don't know what to say. Ohio State played the better team. They won by a larger margin. They looked better. They have the better talent. Notre Dame, one of their only advantages outside of the offensive line, I think, is they have home field advantage. Let's check the chat. A Hummus Hero, one of my favorite Buckeye subscribers. Buckner is 5 of 14 for 34 yards. Terrible. Also, of course, Alabama just had to pick off USF's quarterback, but USF is horrible. Like, the fact that they're not going to cover is disgusting. USF's a horrible football team. They're outgaining Alabama in TOP, first downs, total yards. USF sucks. And Buckner stinks. And that whole quarterback room stinks. When I release my power rankings in top 25, which I've been working on, and it's taken me a while, but I'm a busy man, Alabama's going to drop horribly. What's worse, the camera crew for the Alabama game or Alabama themselves? Easily Alabama. Easily. I don't care that the, game is in low resolution and the commentary is horrible, which it is. Alabama should not be only winning by 7. Cooter Cat. Finally, a great game all around, great timing before Notre Dame. Amen. Amazing 768 LOL. Pac-12 is mad crazy right now. That's what he says. And indeed it is. The Pac-12 is the deepest conference in college football. The deepest. And then finally, Roman Wagner. Is Mayan Williams the official third stringer? I think so. Henderson and Trainum had better games. Easily. Williams had 5 carries for 23 yards. Trainum also had 5 carries, but for 56 yards and a touchdown. And Henderson had 13 carries for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, one of the things I got wrong about Ohio State is that I thought that Williams was going to be the best running back, and he wasn't. Last year he was. But this year, the staff clearly likes Henderson. They're going to train him more than Williams after this game, and Williams is still a good, great running back. Honestly, with elite potential. I mean, Ohio State's running back room is insane in depth. They have great speed. They know how to find holes, and they honestly compensate for the offensive line. I don't think the offensive line is living up to the current Ohio State standard whatsoever. And Trainum, the advantage that you have with Trainum is he's fast and he's elusive, but he can also power run. I don't think that Henderson is the type of running back where if you put him against Michigan's defensive tackles, that he is going to power forward for another yard or 2 or 3. That's not the kind of running back that Henderson is. And against Michigan's defensive tackles, and I think Michigan at this point is going to be the only defensive line, at least on the interior, that can stop Ohio State's run game. And I say that because Penn State's defensive tackles didn't look good today. Minnesota, their strength is the secondary, and they have good defensive linemen, but Ohio State should push them over on the interior. And Notre Dame, their strength's linebacker, and their defense, I think, is somewhat gimmicky. They haven't faced a good offense yet. NC State is a more defensive than offensive team, and the other 3 teams in Central Michigan, Tennessee State, and Navy have atrocious offenses. So Notre Dame's defense hasn't played anyone yet. I think that for Ohio State, they can pass, they can run, they can clearly run better than they could last year. A lot of that's just because their running backs are healthier. And look, I dropped this team down to 3rd in my top 25. My top 25, by the way, what did y'all think about it? I saw a lot of weird comments about it. I didn't get to respond to them just because I've been so busy. But I'm going to restructure my schedule tonight while watching the Michigan game and also tomorrow, so I can be more engageful and have more of a listening ear and reply at a better time. But yeah, I'm exhausted. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the top 25. It's not meant to be reactive. That's why Ohio State was still 3rd. That's why Texas and Florida State were not even close to my top 4. Because it's not reactive. It's not reactive at all. And I'm glad, because now, for Ohio State, I think that, let me look at the AP top 25, and then, because Michigan's about to play, and the game might have already started, I don't know. But the line for Michigan's now 40.5. I think that's what it was earlier this week. But Ohio State is behind USC. They're behind Texas, Florida State, Michigan, and Georgia. They had a better performance today than Georgia and Florida State. I don't know if USC plays this week. I don't think they do. I know Texas does. They play at 8. Yeah, USC is a bye. I think objectively they're better than USC. I think most can agree with that. I just think the Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams hype keeps them in the top 10. I don't even know if they're a top 10 team. They haven't played anyone either. Texas, I'm really questioning their performance after the Alabama win. That's why I didn't want to put them too high, because I thought that Alabama looked bad more than Texas looked good, and Alabama's game against USF, South Florida, is confirming my suspicion. Florida State, when you allow 29 points to Boston College, I know that they have a talented quarterback, but who cares? It's Boston College. That isn't a good look. Georgia struggled. We'll see how Michigan does. You can't be too reactive. You can't if you want to be accurate at looking at different top 25 teams. Really. You can't be too reactive. And there are other parts of my top 25 that are going to suffer. I'm not, claiming that I'm, making all the right predictions. I predicted Minnesota to beat UNC, and they didn't. I predicted Michigan State to look good against Washington, and right now they're down 38-0, and they suck. Clearly. At least in this game. I mean, maybe they're like a bowling team still, but Washington's just that good. And Michigan State clearly at quarterback and in the passing game and also along the trenches They don't have anything going on right now. That game tells me, just as a quick side note, that Mel Tucker, it's a good thing he's leaving because he wasn't building anything anyway. If this is how your team comes out against Washington, I know you're not the head coach, but let's be honest, not much would have changed if Tucker was on the sidelines. That's pathetic. It's unacceptable. So for Michigan State, it's very important that they get the right hire. I think that with the revenue they have and the earnings, they have a massive potential to do so. Let's check the comment section again, and then within 8 minutes, I'm probably going to get off, just so I can watch games, watch film. That's what's important. Take notes, and also, put my brain back together, because today was intense, very intense. A lot of potential upsets, a lot of teams that looked bad. I have to do a lot of reassessment of where I thought different teams were, but it is what it is. Okay, Roman Wagner. I feel bad for Mayan's NFL draft stock. He's a great back in a room that's just really deep. Yeah. Oh, he's a great running back. He really is. I mean, honestly, he'd start at probably all but, I don't even want to, make that declaration, but he would be in the 2 deep of, I think, every running back room in the Power 5 except for Alabama, Penn State, Michigan, obviously Ohio State, even Wisconsin, who has 2 great running backs, an elite one in Allen and a good, above-average, great one in Ches Malusi. He'd start there. Brownie Talk Sports, very interesting top 25 you have. I think Duke should be in it. Duke will probably be in it after today. Same UNC, definitely. Minnesota and Michigan State will be knocked out immediately. The Big Ten did have a lot of hype, yeah, but I think understandably so. I mean, Penn State performed to my expectations. Meanwhile, Florida State disappointed, Alabama disappointed, Georgia disappointed, and Texas, by consequence of Alabama's poor performance, disappointed. It doesn't matter if Texas wins 70-0. Alabama looking this terrible tells me that Texas might be very much overvalued. So Penn State will probably rise. Ohio State, after I assess Georgia, they might go back to number 2. Michigan, unless they look bad, if they play another one of those games where they don't cover but they still look efficient and it's because they take their starters out at halftime, they'd probably still remain at number 1. If you really watch the Michigan games, they're efficient. And they're playing, backups at special teams basically constantly. And J.J. McCarthy's had perfect games back-to-back. Maybe he can make it a third. But I think the Big Ten, in a lot of aspects, there are some teams that are good. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State are in the near elite to elite category. Outside of that, it's pretty bad. I mean, out in the East, for 4th place, I might even favor Rutgers right now. They look disciplined, physical, good defense. They look better than Maryland, and as of today, Michigan State. And then in the West, Minnesota, they have potential, but they don't know how to put it together. At Iowa, they have a similar problem compared to last year. I'm convinced Brian Ferentz ruins players under his program. Wisconsin, I might still favor in the West, though they'll get lower in my top 25 after today. They might drop out completely. But we'll just have to see, ultimately. And yeah, Penn State's playing good football. Mayan still has 1 more year of eligibility after the season, says Thomas Hero. Do you think he transfers? Or if Henderson goes to the draft, and he likely does, do you think he returns? And Alabama might have found their main guy at number 1, the chat says. Well, thank you guys so much for staying on here and talking with me. There will definitely be a restructuring of content this week, as I've said last week. But more importantly, there probably will be a watch party or something different that happens for week 4, because this system of going live after games is like an instant reaction right now. I don't know if it's working to the best degree, and I also don't know if it's providing you guys with good content, etc. And my style of reaction and analysis is looking at the stats, watching everything, and spitting out numbers. And you can't exactly do that and then connect it to the game in the seconds following. So we'll see. There was definitely experimentation. I'm trying to make this thing my full-time gig and have it be a great source of income. So there's a lot of experiments. Thank you guys for your patience. You're welcome, Hummus Hero and Roman Wagner. Henderson goes to the draft. Chip runs out of eligibility. Mayan is running back number 1. Yeah, he should stay. He'll be one of the Big Ten's best running backs next year because I think he has that element to him of power that, let's say, Nicholas Singleton at Penn State lacks, and he might be a better running back than Katron Allen. We'll just have to see. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll see you guys later. Thank you very much. There will be tons of videos out tomorrow and Monday. At least I hope. Have a great day, guys.